So I'd like to welcome Scott Muncaster and Kerry Roberts from Adactus, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about Smart Queue. So over to you, Scott.
Great, thank you, Karen. So yeah, thank you everyone for taking the time to view this presentation, and look forward to hearing your questions and answering them. So let me start with what I'm going to be running through. I'll take you through what Smart Queue is, and look specifically at how it helps people who want to shop, people who want to sell to those people, and the group I'm talking to now, members of the ATCM. I'll take a quick look at what happened last week. I'm recording this on Monday the 22nd of June, and we've had 1 week of retailing, so I think it's worth just reflecting on what we've learned so far. Then I'll talk about what it takes to get on board with Smart Queue, and then I'll finish up with a little bit about who we are and our experience in working with retail and hospitality, and then we'll do some summing up. And then there'll be space for your questions, although obviously we'll do those offline from this recorded presentation. So we decided about 2 months or 10 weeks ago that we could bring something to the party in terms of helping the country and helping retail in particular recover from lockdown when the time came to reopen shops. And the inspiration really came from a couple of experiences of existing shops that were trading but had big queues. One of those was a supermarket, and the queue was right around the car park, and didn't look particularly safe or well organised at the time. And that got me thinking about what it would be like if this thing carried on for weeks and months, and how we could make it better for both the store and the customers, rather than just enduring big long queues. I mean, at the time the weather was good. We've been very lucky that way, but imagining darker days and wet days, it just didn't feel like a good solution that was sustainable for a longer period of needing to queue. And then the very next day, I saw a queue outside a pharmacy in the town centre of where our office is, and that looked fine. It was very well organised, 2 metre distancing, but it did spread right down the pavement past other shops, which at the time were closed, but it got me thinking, one day they're going to open up those shops. So where is that queue going to go? Because you can't snake around, the pavement's not that wide. How are we going to manage that? So working on both of those things, large shops with big queues, and then smaller shops with queues sort of getting in the way of each other on the high street, we came up with Smart Queue. And it does several things. The first thing is it shows customers that you're open if you're a shop, and it shows that you're taking care of them and thinking about how you get them into the shop safely and fairly. It comes in 2 flavours. We have a pure queue system, so you take a ticket and join a queue, but we also have a version whereby you can pre-book an appointment. And on both of those, we keep it really light, really simple. There isn't loads of form filling in. It's just a quick couple of clicks on an app, and then you're in the queue or you've reserved your appointment. We envisage hosts or greeters or bouncers, the people on the door, managing the customer flow, and also taking care of non-app users. So not everybody uses a smartphone, or even if they do, they may not have the time or the interest in downloading an app. But both the queuing and appointment systems can be managed by your hosts or greeters or bouncers, whatever you want to call those people on the door, your team, to make sure that nobody's left out and nobody's disadvantaged when Smart Queue's in operation. During quieter times where there isn't a need to queue, that's quite an important message for retailers to get across to customers. You know, you can come straight down, come in, there's no need to queue at the moment. So anyone viewing Smart Queue will see that your shop is ready to greet them straight away. But when it does get busier, you flip into a different mode and you can manage the queue, issuing tickets so that people can wait somewhere safely. They're not really forced to hang around the entrance of the store, which is where we see the bottlenecks, particularly in towns where the pavements are narrow, perhaps the streets are narrow. You need people to wait somewhere else until it's their turn. And if you want to, as I've said, you can flip into an appointment-based operation. So rather than have people come and queue, and when you're ready for the next one in, you can say, you know, so many people per hour can come in. So we've got appointments on the hour, on the quarter past, on the half past, and on the 45. And there are three available of each of those, and people can reserve that one and then turn up at their appointed time. So that's the high level for you. And I'm going to, if I can, go into a bit more detail about, first of all, the process, and then secondly, the benefits for each of our target audiences here. So shoppers, stores, and people like yourselves who've got responsibilities to make it all work in the context of a town. So there's two apps here. We talk about Smart Queue as if it's one thing, but it's actually two halves of the equation. So the Smart Queue app, which is available from the Android or Apple stores, is what the end user, the customer, uses. So they download it, it's free of charge, and very, very quick registration process. We don't need names, email addresses, any of that. It's just a phone number to verify that they're a real person with a real device, and then they're off and running. And what they do is they see a screen that can be based on a search they've done, or can just simply use where they physically are. It uses the geolocation of your phone to say, I am currently in Tame, is where I am right now. And it will show me which stores are open, and whether there's a queue, and if there is a queue, how many people are in it right now, and what the estimated waiting time is. And I can choose to join the queue and take a ticket. So I hit a button that says, yep, I'd like to join that queue, and I'll instantly receive a unique number, which is my ticket, with some instructions attached to it, which basically say, go and wait somewhere safe. So I might sit in my car, or I might go to a more open space in the town. So Thames lucky, we have some nice open spaces in the form of parks, and then the high street itself is pretty wide. So there's plenty of places I can go until the store tells me they're ready for me. And when they do, I'll receive a notification that it's my turn to turn up. So I'll wander over to the store. I'll hit a button saying, yep, I'm on my way. When I get there, I'll wait by the door until they're actually ready to let me in. And that's it, really, in terms of the join the queue mode for Smart Queue. And if I don't have a smartphone, then I can ask someone in the store to add me to the queue and effectively get the same experience as people who have got smartphones. So flipping to the other side of the equation, what's happening in the store is there's an operator app that is the other half of the equation. And the operator app is also works on Android and Apple devices, but you don't download it from the store. We send you a link, and once you've got it and you've signed in, you can see whether, first of all, you can decide whether you need a queue or not at the moment. So if it's quiet, you just toggle it into no queue required mode. And then people who search will see that there is no queue at the minute, and they can just come straight to your shop. But when it gets busy and your queue is sort of at the maximum of what's allowable given the space available, rather than having to turn people away and say, can you come back later, you can flip the operator app, flip it into queuing mode, and that's when customers will see that they need to take a ticket. So you've got those two modes, no queue required, or actually we're queuing now. And if you are queuing, you then see the queue in terms of all the tickets that you've issued and the order they were issued. And when you're ready for the next person, you hit a button and they get the notification and come to you. And as I said a few moments ago, if there's a customer who's not a smartphone user for whatever reason, you can add them to the queue and take a first name and add them to the queue and give them a ticket. So they're not disadvantaged because they haven't got a smartphone. So that's how, in a nutshell, the join the queue mode of Smart Queue works. There's also, as I said earlier, an appointment version. So here, for the customer, you would see which slots are free and reserve one, basically. So if you, the operator, the retailer, have decided that you're going to let people in every 15 minutes, and you can cope with 3 people in your shop at any given time, you tell us that you wanted 15-minute slots and that there were 3 of them available. So a customer who finds your shop, rather than just joining the queue, would see the available slots for today and see the next available one. So if nobody yet's booked, then they'd see all of the slots. But once the 3 11 o'clock slots are gone, it would disappear from the list. It wouldn't be an option for them to reserve it. So by this way, you can absolutely manage the number of people who are let into your venue at any given time. And that's what makes me think that when we get to talking to cafes and pubs, hopefully soon, about the reopening, this could be a real help for them, because they've got a bunch of challenges that sort of over and above those for shops. And I do think that slots and reservations for a particular slot could really help in a cafe or pub environment. But regardless of what operation it is, our service is pretty much the same. Once you've booked a slot, you receive a ticket, same as you would if you joined a queue. And then just before it's your turn, so the one you can see on your screen now is somebody who's joined the Rackets Fitness Club, and they've got a slot booked for 5 o'clock. So just before 5 o'clock, the operator could send them a reminder saying, looking forward to seeing you in a few minutes' time, and they would turn up to fulfill their appointment. So those are the two different flavours: joining a queue or taking a slot, book it an appointment. And I think I'd summarise the benefits as these. First of all, is actually seeing who's open. So I'm seeing whether a store is open, and then seeing whether it currently has a queue or whether you can come straight down, or seeing whether you need to take an appointment. If there is a queue, it shows you how many people are in it, and it has it calculated. It's a bit of guesswork really, but based on recent, i.e. the last few minutes, how quickly people have been entering the store, we were able to calculate how long you'll be in the queue if you join it now. And once you've joined the queue, you can continue to go back and see how many people are in front of me now and how long is it before they expect to let me in. So it updates all the time. Once you've joined the queue, the big benefit, and really where we started with this, is the idea that you don't physically have to stand there queuing. You can go away somewhere nicer, safer, more comfortable. That might be your car, or it could be an open space. But one way or another, you're not stuck in that physical location waiting for your turn. The other version of this, as I've discussed, is making an appointment. And again, you've got that certainty that I'm good. I can go in at 10 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever time I've booked, and the store will be expecting me, and I'm not going to have to hang around waiting for long to be let in. And in both cases, whether you're using the queue version or whether you're using the appointment thing, you'll get a little reminder to say, yep, we're ready for you, come on down. And the big thing, what's very important to us, is that nobody's disadvantaged. If they don't have a smartphone, the store can still add them to the system, either give them an appointment or add them to the queue, so everybody gets a fair crack at the whip. So, switching into some more detail for the retailers, the first thing they have to do is sign up with us and provide some information. So that information is all stuff you know anyway. It's your opening hours, and your website name and a contact number, bits and pieces like that. Stuff we need to load into the system so it can work properly for you. An image, a logo, things like that. And once you've done that, we take care of things. We load you into SmartQ, and we'll send you a link to download the operator app. And from there on in, it's what I described earlier. You control whether and when you've got ticketing happening, whether you've got a queue or not, and you view that queue and manage it. You tell people when it's time to come in. So if you look to the right of the screen there, this is the operator app, and there are 3 people waiting and 1 person. Wild 104 has already been asked to come in, but they haven't arrived yet. When they do arrive, you'll check them in. If they don't turn up and you've waited a few minutes, you can send them a reminder, hitting the orange button. Or if they don't turn up, eventually you can say, well, they're a no-show, and take them out of the queue and assume that they decided not to bother. We've talked about managing a time slot operation as well. So you'd have provided us with that information at the beginning when you first signed up about how many slots you want to have per hour and how many people can come in at any given time. And basically the same screen you're seeing there will apply for slots as well. So yeah, that's all there is to it. There's no heavy GDPR stuff. There's no email addresses or personal data involved. It's very light touch and very quick for both the operator and the end user to get themselves up and running and booking slots or joining queues. So the benefits, I think, are the ones shown here, showing people you're open, you know, and not just showing them you're open, but showing them when you're open. So a lot of the stores we've talked to are running non-standard trading hours at the moment. They're just dipping their toe in. They've got additional clean down processes to figure out. They've got stock concerns. They've got furloughed staff returning, needing training. So they're not necessarily doing the hours that they used to do, or the hours that Google may be showing. So it's important that we show people the accurate trading hours. And if they change, you can quickly let us know, and we'll update to reflect that. So on one level, this is a listing system. It shows you're open and when you're open. It shows people the current status, and you control that. It shows people whether they're going to need a queue or whether they can just come straight to your door. And if you are asking them to wait either in a queue or to book an appointment, it shows them that too. In terms of the costs, for a small store under 280 square metres, it's about £3 a day, which is the price of a cup of coffee. For larger locations, it's about £10 a day. But there are economies of scale we can talk about, and different ways we can construct a package that suits different retailer situations. Another benefit for retailers, and I think this is one that's just emerging, is that they have a responsibility for the space outside their store. So to date, I think we've all been thinking about how are we going to manage the tills and stock and the flow inside the four walls of the store. How many people are we going to let in? How are we going to let people try on clothes or handle a book, or those sorts of immediate concerns, and perhaps not worried so much about what's happening outside on the pavement. But as we're beginning to see, there's only so much space, and depending on the nature of your town or retail park or shopping centre, you might find that you've got more people than can physically fit in the space that you've got there. And that's when it becomes really important that you can send people away to wait somewhere safe, but without turning them away and saying, we can't let you in at all. So it helps you manage those busier times, taking a ticket or managing slots. And it reduces lost sales, because if you tell someone to go away, there's a real chance they might not come back. They might find what they need in a competitor, or they might just decide, I'll go home and buy it online. So the idea of the queue being full and turning people away should have all retailers concerned. You've got to be safe, but you don't want to just say, go away. You want to say, do this, take a ticket, we'll call you when it's safe to come back. And by the way, that looks like it'll be 20 minutes or so. So those are the benefits for the retailer as we see them. Turning now to the audience I'm addressing in this presentation, town and shopping centre managers, or BIDs. I think the main benefit here is you can fix one problem for your customers, the stores, or a group of problems, and you can do it in a coordinated way, in a proactive way that meets your brief of helping the town recover, helping the shopping centre or the retail park recover. So it's something proactive to help bring people back to the high street. If it's a joined up approach across the whole town or city, then it has lots of benefits. I think you make it a habit for the customers. They see and get familiar with using Smart Queue as the way to get into the various different shops. So it's not on a case-by-case basis. It actually becomes Tame Town's answer, or Liverpool's or Cambridge or whoever we're talking to. It becomes your answer for addressing those concerns about the space outside shops and businesses and how you get people into them. It looks joined up. It looks like everybody's working together on a single program. It's not just a ragtag mixture of different systems and different processes depending which retailer you want to visit. I think it's important that it is technology based. It's not, and there is absolutely place for these things, and they're invaluable, in fact, but it's not about perspex and poles and signage and lots of physical material, because that will prove very expensive. And as the rules change and the situation changes, those things might turn out not to be what you need. So using technology, which we can adapt to reflect the new realities as things change, I think is important. But it's also worth remembering, as I've said, that nobody's excluded. So if you're not a technology user for whatever reason, we're not leaving you out of this. There is a way for you to be part of the queue, part of the appointment system. coordinating it across the whole town just makes sense in our view. Familiarity makes people confident in using systems and confident in being part of something that actually works. So as I said just a few moments ago, this is about wherever I look, it's the same approach being used by all the shops, big or small, or most of the shops. It doesn't have to be everyone. Some may not need this solution, but wherever there's likely to be a need for a queue or an appointment, if you've got one system covering the whole town, it will just become a habit for customers, as we've said. It's easy to communicate. You're saying the same thing over and over again. And that's how things sink in, and that's how people understand what they're doing and stop worrying about it. It just becomes the new reality, to use a phrase we're all using. It's also a chance for information to be passed on. So we've talked about how it helps people see who's open and what hours they're open. What I didn't talk about was when you do take a ticket or you do book an appointment, there is a chance for the brand, the store, to put a little bit of extra information in the ticket. So not only do you get your ticket, but there's a chance for the brand to either promote things. We've got a special offer on homeware at the moment, or more likely it could be something that's actually about safety and what we need people to do. So for example, you might say, please note we're limiting purchases of certain items to 3 per customer. So it's an additional chance to communicate to your customers as they use SmartQ. And the big thing is a job that you guys are all facing right now, which is how do you get all those people to fit into your town with its unique set of circumstances, those narrow winding lanes or the one-way system and the narrow pavements. So the things you're concerned about, things I've been reading in base camp about how we're going to manage queues, pavements, parking, all of those things. This isn't the whole answer, but it is part of it, which is the queuing side of things and getting people into the stores and doing it in a way that doesn't turn people away and just say to people, no, sorry, we're too busy, you can't come in. So we've been back trading with non-essential retailers for just a week now. As I said, today is Monday the 22nd of June as I'm recording this, and that's just a week after the first stores reopened. And I thought it was worth just reflecting on that first week. And very obviously it's not a typical week because it was the first week. So everybody who's back, you know, you've got a lot of team members who are just returning from an extended period of furlough, so just getting used to being back at work has been novel. And then it's not work as we used to know it. The shops are different. The till process is different. The stock process is different. Managing customers through the store is different. So it's been very, very strange. Whilst it's been great and exciting for people to return to work, it's been different and weird, and that will take some getting used to. The atmosphere has been weird. People who literally haven't come out shopping because there's been no shopping to do for nigh on 3 months are finding themselves back in a familiar place, but it feels different. There are queues, there are masks, it's just different. So it's not being just turn back the clock and this is where we were back in March. It's a new reality, to use the phrase everyone's using. By its very nature, after being shut for 3 months, there is pent-up demand. People have been cooped up and missing their routine of shopping. So, you know, that will be done fairly quickly. The pent-up demand, once everybody's had a chance to visit the shops, it's back to a different sort of routine. But last week was all about, I haven't been near Primark for 3 months and I really want to go there. And also I think it's worth pointing out that the people who felt comfortable coming out and wanted to come out on those first days, but perhaps not the full story. They're not the typical attitudes and concerns that everyone else has got. So great to see people coming out, people who were willing to queue, who were excited about the shops reopening, perhaps overexcited in some cases. But there's a whole bunch of people who didn't, and we need to know what's stopping them. Because if we're going to recover, we need everybody to come back and be doing at least what they were doing before, spending money in the shops and keeping the high street alive. So let's look at who's not there and why they're not there as much as we look at who is there and how they're behaving. I think one thing that was pretty obvious even before we reopened, but it was there for all to see last week, was safer equals slower. There are a whole extra set of steps in the process of retailing now that weren't there before. Cleaning things down, managing things in a different way to maintain distance, putting stock away to effectively quarantine for a period of time before you let somebody else touch it. All of that adds to the time it takes for people to have a shopping experience. So yeah, safer equals slower, and that's pretty much a universal truth everywhere, I think. That said, organisation will improve. Last week was baby steps for a lot of companies and a lot of retailers, just figuring out how it's going to work, so that will improve and change over time. And of course, in a few weeks' time, hopefully we'll have the other places, the ones that are still shut, beginning to reopen. So the pubs, bars, cafes, they'll reopen, and that will add a different dimension to the town centre experience. The rules are going to change. It seems inevitable, seems necessary, and we'll hear more about that in the coming days, but it'll continue to change. And shopping is going to be different for a while. It's not just a matter of, well, that was horrible, but we're back to normal. There's going to be a new reality for a while. One thing that has been pretty much true, pretty much up and down the country, is during the lockdown period, the weather's by and large been pretty kind. It's the right time of year to have a disaster like this, if you have to have one. But you can imagine that in the depths of winter, or just during a heat wave or a wet spell, queuing and waiting to get into places will be far less bearable than it has been in the last few weeks. And I guess we can see this, and not everyone's the same, but understanding patience and kindness are not going to go forever. Different people have got different attitudes and different expectations. And yeah, we can't rely on people being endlessly good-natured and putting up with stuff to wait to get into our businesses. In time, they'll expect it to be the most efficient and safe process it can be. And yeah, that's that final point. Safety and efficiency are essential. So just to turn quickly to what it takes to get on board, we've got a 4-step process. So this is part of step 1. We want to tell people about how SmartQ works and answer their questions. Hopefully see them realizing that it's a good solution for their business. It's light touch, there's no GDPR concerns. It's not particularly clever, it just does what it says on the tin. Once they've decided to, stores need to order with us, place an order, and get themselves signed up, agree to terms and conditions, confirm their payment method. There is an option that this could be done through a centralised body like yourselves, so we could have a package for a whole town. That's something we'd like to talk to you about. But one way or another, we need to get the thing ordered. And then the third phase is this business of providing the information. So names, addresses, trading hours, what you want to say to customers as they take a ticket, whether you want to run slots or a queue, whether you can provide us with a logo and a picture so your store looks good on SmartQ. And then we take care of it from there. We get you set into the system and you go live. We send you a link to your operator app, and you're ready to rock and roll. And we, on an ongoing basis, can manage the changes to trading hours, deal with any questions you've got, but you yourselves as retailers, I'm talking as if I'm talking to retailers now, take care of the queues and slots. You manage your customers in and out of the store. And that's pretty much it. That's what needs to happen for you to be live on SmartQ. So I just wanted to finish really before a final summing up by talking for 1 minute about who we are. We are a proper tech firm. We're not a startup who's seen an opportunity in coronavirus. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're not. We've been around for a long time. We've been around for about 20 years coming up. And the key word is doing the right thing, having the right people, the right solution, using the right technologies, not just crowbarring or shoehorning something in to a situation. So we've got a lot of experience. The next slide will show you some of the clients we work with. We've got a lot of experience of building systems that really work and really fix problems, rather than something just shiny that looks good, but on closer inspection doesn't actually work. It's a pretty simple approach. Take a look at the problem, figure out what people really need versus perhaps what they think they want, and then look at the options and recommend the right one. So that's what we've done with Smart Queue. We've come up with two options, basically, the queuing version and the appointment version, book a slot version. And then we build the solution, and then we help people adopt it. So nothing particularly extraordinary about what we do, but we do it to a good standard, and we've got customers who've been with us for over 10 years because we do it right. Just to show you some of our clients there, particularly in the top left of the screen, you'll see some hospitality names that you'll be familiar with. That has helped us with this particular program for Smart Queue, because we've worked with restaurants for booking systems and a five-a-side operator booking pitches and managing queues and managing aspects of what Smart Queue seeks to address is already in our DNA. We've been doing this sort of stuff for a long time with a lot of brands that you already know. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I have to say. I'll sum up by just quickly revisiting. I think we fix 5 things with Smart Queue that are hurting or have the potential to hurt retail. So we show people that stores are open and when they're open, because there is some confusion about who's been allowed to open and what hours they're trading. We just make that crystal clear. We make it safer and more time efficient, so you're not just putting yourself at the end of a queue that you've got no real sense of how long it's going to take. And you can do it more safely under the same point. You can go and sit in your car or find that open space where you feel comfortable. It shows you when it is quiet and when there's little or no queue, so you can seize the moment and get yourself to shop during quieter times. But if it is a busier time, it does something more than just say, come back later. It helps you get into that shop even though it's busy in a safe and fair way. And if it's appropriate for the retailer, it allows you to book an appointment. So you can manage appointments across the course of the day, so you can have a steady flow of people coming in and everybody knows when to come and you'll be ready and expecting them. To address the audience I'm talking to now, I do think it works most effectively when it's used across a town or shopping centre. It just feels safe, fair and convenient if everybody's operating the same system. And to make a point I've already made, frequency of using something breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds confidence. So consumers using this app to get themselves into the shops and other businesses they want to will get into the habit and start to understand that, yep, this is good, it works, it gets me in without having to wait in that uncertain way that we talked about a few minutes ago. And there are economies of scale too. So if a town groups together under the leadership of a town centre manager or a bid, then the economies of scale can kick in, and we can make it even more cost effective. To get that message across, we'd love to join you and talk to your teams and the businesses that you're talking to. So just let us know how we can help. And for another day, but worth remembering, is we do have other systems that support social distancing and help with perhaps the return to office work. So we've got a system that manages who's in and who's out of the office, can track and help you plan people returning to office in a safe way and an organised way. And we've also got a signing in system. So if a business needs people to sign in and perhaps self-certify that they're feeling okay and whatever it is that you want to do, we've got technology to help with that. But I didn't want to distract from the key message today, which is Smart Queue and how we think it can help retail return to something like normal. So
thank you.
That's me.
Thank you. That was really interesting, Scott. Thank you very much for that. I've got a question actually.
Go for it.
How easy is it? What's the transition like? Do people adapt to it quite quickly? Because as soon as you introduce something that's new, it becomes a bit like a barrier to going into somewhere. Do you find that people just sort of download it quite quickly and get used to that?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I would draw a parallel with restaurants and table bookings. You know, if you want to badly enough, if you want to go to a restaurant, you kind of fall in line and use their booking system. And I think particularly with this, customers for now, we've been very understanding and have just joined queues and done what they're told. And I think they're now looking for, well, when's this going to get better? So I think it's a pretty easy message to put across. If we tell people, use this system and you can wait safely or you can have a guaranteed appointment, all the signs are, and all our experience tells us, people are happy to adopt the technology. And don't forget as well, anyone who isn't happy to can still use the system. We can still manage appointments and queues for non-tech users. So it's a really good question, and the proof of the pudding will be once we really get going. We're only just emerging from lockdown, but all my experience with other systems we've implemented is that people, as long as you explain it clearly, they like the idea of, yep, I can just book a slot or I can join a queue. We've been doing this for years in hospitality, and people do it.
Yeah, good. And then the other question I do have as well, because I always have more than one question. Wow. The other one is about marketing. How do you get the message out there that your location is actually operating this system now?
So there's a few things. We in Tame, for example, have got our the Smart Queue app on the social distancing stickers on the floor. So, you know, obviously a lot of those will already be printed. So that was one thing we did in Tame. But everyone who signs up is given a location code, and that's actually the easiest way for someone to find your shop is to open the Smart Queue app and put in the location code. So a bit like if you park at a station car park and you use one of those apps to book your park, and there's a code that says, you're in Beaconsfield car park, it's code number 1234. So what we need people to do is put in their window something that says we're on Smart Queue and our code is 1234. So yeah, it's pretty visual. Stick a poster in your window, stick a bit of A4 in the window with the Smart Queue symbol, and really that's all you need to do.
Excellent, thank you very much. It's been really interesting. I'm really quite excited about this one actually, because being one of those people that hates queuing, I hate standing in a queue. I'm not one of those Brits that likes to stand in a queue. I'd probably walk away and not bother. I'm
not sure there's as many people who like queuing as the mythology says, Karen. I
think we just do it in an orderly fashion. And I think as well as another element to this as well, Scott, because I noticed something the other day where one supermarket had its queue going into the car park.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a mixture of pedestrians and cars and queuing people trying to get into a shop. Now, there's obviously a safety issue there as well. You know, people queuing into a car park when there's cars around. So ideally, you want those people out of the car park somewhere else where it's safer.
You do, and without going into the darker places of recent events, but anywhere where there's a predictable crowd of people is dangerous for a number of reasons, isn't it? You've got the traffic thing, absolutely, which I think is what you're raising, but you've got to be concerned about people congregating from a public safety point of view. And what this does is that they don't have to be anywhere in particular. You can disperse people, which has got to be a good thing. So yeah, that's a dimension that it's a bit dark and you don't like to dwell on it, but it is part of this, which is keeping people safe. Is not just social distancing, but it's the idea of groups of people either being in the way of traffic or something, something more concerning. Yeah, you want to avoid that, and this opens that up. It allows you to say to people, go wherever you feel safe. We'll tell you when it's time to come and shop.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Kerry and Scott for joining us this morning from Adactus Smart Queue. Contact the ATCM, contact Scott or Kerry, or have a look at the website for more information. We will be doing some more presentations throughout our regional meetings with the ATCM, so you'll have the opportunity to discuss this with Scott and Kerry in future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.